Today is May 7th, 2026. The world feels more dangerous than it has in decades. Every morning, people check the news with anxiety, wondering if distant wars will reach their doorstep. Old rivalries have erupted into new, bloody battles, and powerful nations are flexing their military might. These conflicts are no longer isolated. They're connected, forming a web that threatens global stability. What happens in one country now ripples across continents, raising fears of a much larger war. The risk of global conflict is a daily topic, from the United Nations to city streets. Advanced weapons and cyber warfare have expanded the battlefield, while fragile economies buckle under the strain. Oil and food supplies are threatened, making life harder for everyone. In this special report, we'll break down the major wars, show how they're linked, and reveal the human cost. Most importantly, we'll ask, can leaders stop the fighting before it's too late? Understanding these hard truths is the first step toward change. The Russia-Ukraine war rages on with no end in sight. This month, Russia unleashed massive drone and missile attacks, targeting Ukraine's power plants and infrastructure. Ukraine's air defenses intercept most, but not all, leaving cities in fear and darkness. A proposed ceasefire for Russia's Victory Day was ignored. Russia instead launched its largest drone assault yet. Ukraine is striking back, hitting military bases and oil refineries deep inside Russia, showing new reach and capability. Russia has threatened massive retaliation, warning diplomats to leave Kyiv. The war's front lines are shifting, with Ukraine now targeting cities nearly 2,000 kilometers inside Russia. Each attack escalates the cycle of violence, making peace seem ever more distant. Civilians in both countries live under constant threat, their lives upended by relentless warfare. The conflict is evolving, with new technology and tactics raising the stakes. As both sides harden, the hope for peace grows dimmer. The world watches, anxious that this brutal conflict could spiral even further. The question remains, how much longer can this go on? The Middle East is on edge after a dramatic escalation between Iran, Israel, and the United States. In February, US and Israeli airstrikes killed Iran's supreme leader, triggering a furious response. Iran launched hundreds of missiles and drones at Israel and US bases, and tried to close the vital Strait of Hormuz, disrupting global oil supplies. Oil prices soared and the world economy trembled. Now, fragile talks for a temporary truce are underway, with Pakistan mediating. The US Navy is blockading Iranian ports, recently disabling an Iranian tanker trying to break the blockade. America and Israel are preparing for more strikes if diplomacy fails. Inside Iran, a power struggle is underway. No new leader has emerged, making the situation unpredictable. The uncertainty in Tehran adds to the region's volatility. Will Iran's next leader seek peace or escalate the war? The entire Middle East and the world waits for the answer. Every move in this conflict has global consequences. The stakes have never been higher. On Israel's northern border, war with Hezbollah has erupted into a new, devastating conflict. Hezbollah, backed by Iran, joined the fight as the wider Middle East war began. Israeli jets have bombed targets near Beirut, pushing the war into Lebanon's capital for the first time in years. Over 2,600 people have been killed in Lebanon, and more than 1 million displaced. Lebanese civilians are now refugees in their own country, while northern Israelis flee rocket attacks. The Israeli military responds with heavy airstrikes, fueling a brutal cycle of retaliation. Cities are emptied, futures destroyed, and hope is fading. Neither side is backing down, and the violence is escalating. The cost is measured in shattered lives and lost generations. The world watches as another front in the region burns. In Yemen, the Iran-backed Houthi movement has joined the regional war, launching missiles and drones at Israel and disrupting the Red Sea. The Red Sea is a crucial shipping lane for global trade and oil. Houthi attacks on commercial ships have forced companies to reroute around Africa, adding weeks and costs to deliveries. Prices rise worldwide as shipping slows and insurance costs soar. US and allied warships now escort convoys echoing tactics from past wars. The Houthis, armed by Iran, show how a local conflict can shake the global economy. The crisis in the Red Sea is a warning. Regional wars can have worldwide impact. Trade routes are now battlefields, and everyone pays the price. The economic fallout is spreading far beyond the Middle East. The world's supply chains are more fragile than ever. The ripple effects are being felt in every corner of the globe. The most alarming trend is how these wars are now deeply interconnected. Iran supplies Russia with drones for use in Ukraine, directly linking the Middle East and European conflicts. Ukrainian specialists experienced in countering Iranian drones are now helping Gulf states and US forces defend against similar attacks. Weapons, tactics and alliances are crossing borders, blurring the lines between regional and global conflict. A war in one region now fuels violence in another. Countries are choosing sides, and alliances are shifting rapidly. The risk of miscalculation grows as more nations get involved. A single incident could trigger a chain reaction, dragging allies into a wider war. The world's security web is tangled and fragile. No conflict is isolated anymore. The danger of escalation has never been greater. The world stands on a knife's edge. Behind every headline, ordinary people are suffering most. In Lebanon, over 1 million have fled their homes. In Iran, thousands of civilians have died in airstrikes. Ukraine's families live in fear, sheltering from missiles and drones, their lives upended. Children grow up knowing only war, their futures stolen. The true cost of conflict is measured in lost lives and broken communities. Refugees crowd shelters, uncertain if they'll ever return home. These are not just statistics, they are human tragedies. The world's failure to find peace is paid for by its most vulnerable. With conflict raging, global leaders are scrambling for solutions. Diplomacy is underway. Pakistan mediates US-Iran talks, while the UN struggles to deliver aid to war zones. Ceasefire negotiations are fragile, trust is low, and every misstep risks escalation. The world is dividing into rival camps, the US and its allies on one side, Russia, Iran and China on the other. This power struggle makes resolving individual wars even harder. Humanitarian efforts are hampered by danger and bureaucracy. The UN calls for civilian protection, but war often drowns out these pleas. Diplomacy feels inadequate as violence spreads. The world's leaders are walking a tightrope. One wrong move could tip us into disaster. Are we on the brink of a global war? The facts are sobering. Multiple wars are now interconnected, with weapons and alliances crossing borders. The risk of escalation is high. One mistake could trigger a chain reaction. If US-Iran talks fail or Russia escalates in Ukraine, the consequences could be catastrophic. Yet there's still a narrow path to peace. Diplomatic talks continue, and leaders know a world war would be disastrous. Economic pain may push countries toward compromise. The world stands at a crossroads. One path leads to more conflict, the other to fragile peace. The coming weeks will be critical. Will leaders choose cooperation or confrontation? The world holds its breath, hoping for peace in a time of great uncertainty.